Many people believe that our beliefs are automatic, that something clicks within us and we are not in control of what we believe. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes we read an article and we assume it's true, we don't think twice about it, and later we find out that journalist was exaggerating. But when it comes to our beliefs about the way the world is, who we are, the unknowable secrets of the universe, while they may seem automatic and beyond our control, we very much create our own belief system. We have the ability to choose and craft a belief system. Now, most people tend to hear negative stories about themselves or others and believe those. And it's very difficult for a lot of people, believe positive stories about themselves. And it doesn't have to come from other people. It oftentimes comes from the person themselves. Our own mind is often telling us a negative, fear-based story, and it often shapes a pessimistic and scary world for ourselves. And whether or not someone says something that is rude or critical and we believe it, or if our own mind says it, at the end of the day, it is the story of our mind. Because when someone says something critical, our mind has to either choose to believe it or choose to believe something else. And because our egos, which were survival tools for living in tribes and living in nature, are not really fit for having a joyful, happy life in this 8 billion person community we now find ourselves living in, because it wants to focus on something scary, potential threat, something to acquire and need. It often will be more easy for the mind to believe a negative story. But we don't live in this survival mode, dangerous, wild place anymore. We rarely have to defend ourselves from bears. And there's not a lot of dangerous cliffs that we will find ourselves on the ledge of too often. So we have to be aware that it is the ego, that it is the thinking mind, which is generating so much of this negative story in our mind. And just by becoming aware of that story, we can respond to it appropriately. We don't have to believe the story. And we can choose consciously to believe a story that makes us our happiest, most confident, most optimistic, and peaceful person that we can be. So when someone says something mean, we can notice the story and we can interpret it to our own benefit, to our greatest benefit. And to interpret it any other way is really madness and laziness. If we put a little effort into examining deeply any mean comment, we can see that there's no basis for this person to have any authority on the matter, to dictate his reality on the matter. And we can easily see that a person who is overly critical and mean is clearly in his own negative story or her own negative story. And they just are unconsciously making sure that everyone feels their pain. Any good person lifts people up. And only hurt people try to bring others down. And that's not to say they're bad people. It's simply to say that they have their own struggle going on, and that they are not the arbiters of reality. And you have more knowledge, more insight, and more authority on who you are than anyone else. No one will ever be inside your mind but you. And so the correct conclusion is to interpret reality to the ultimate benefit for yourself, which is to say, when someone says something kind, we accept it as a kind person's honesty. And when someone says something cruel, we understand this person is suffering with a lot of negativity in their own mind and in their own lives. And we can respond with compassion. And we can respond with a greater sense of self-worth than before. Because cruel people tend to love cruel company. Misery loves company and cruelty loves company. And they tend to not even notice cruelty in others because they don't see it in themselves. And everything that we see is a projection of something inside of us. And so a kind, sweet person is like a mirror to someone who is acting in a harmful way. And they don't like to see their own negative behavior. And so they lash out. And this is both a blessing and a curse, because if you are receiving someone's cruelty, they see a good person subconsciously. But when you are receiving kindness, it is because you are on the same wavelength as someone who is kind, who knows how to treat people, and you will attract those kind of people. So remember that the only truth is your truth, and you get to choose what that is.